Think of your to-do list. Now picture crossing off everything on that list, not because you got it done, but just because you delayed it until tomorrow. Congratulations, you've now worked a full day in the Colorado State House. Our Marshall Zellinger takes a closer look at the true impact of stalling at the Capitol.
Members, with that, I'll go ahead and use the time that I have allotted to kind of just go over it.
Gotta hand it to House Republicans. The rules don't allow for the exact same stall tactics that we've seen in the Senate, so Republican Representative Dave Williams decided to use his 10 minutes at the mic to read yesterday's journal, stalling the morning just a little bit.
Coleman, Cutter, Duran, Eskar, Exum, Froelich.
The House did not hear any of the bills on the calendar today.
When it comes to the calendar and which bills come up when, I am in control of that.
House Majority Leader Representative Alec Garnett intended for lawmakers to come back tonight to debate oil and gas reform, but that has also been put off until tomorrow.
If you look at the House calendar, there isn't a ton of work that's sitting on the calendar.
Let's say when tomorrow starts, there are a couple of tame bills on the calendar before a controversial bill like oil and gas. If Garnett goes in order, Republicans could delay by having the tame bills read out loud or by going to the mic for long debates, thus delaying the controversial bill from being debated. Garnett could also call the oil and gas bill first, out of order. So how long would that debate last? House Democrats could set a time limit, but if not, the debate could last a maximum of 2 days before a vote is required. Ultimately, the bills Democrats want passed will happen. They won't get delayed until it's too late. It's the tame bills that could be delayed or put off altogether. Bills like upping the fine for passing snowplows in diagonal formation or trying to green light a Mesa Verde license plate. I can't imagine what's going to happen if that plate does not get approved. Frankly, the stalling today, Kyle, was more talk behind the scenes between Republicans and Democrats about some sort of oil and gas compromise before that bill is debated tomorrow. And the relationship in the House is much more friendlier than it seems in the Senate. Garnett tells me he talks with Minority Leader Patrick Neville often, so much so he knows he needs a refill on his watermelon Jolly Ranchers in his office.
TMI. That's TMI, Marshall. Thank you. State Senate's top Democrat is not going to support one of his party's top priorities, but the man does not want to talk about it. Senate President Leroy Garcia from Pueblo released a statement yesterday afternoon saying that he was going to be a no on the red flag gun control. So naturally, we and everybody else had some questions. Well, too bad for all of you, Garcia was not in an answering mood today. For starters, we wanted to ask him if he thinks this bill is a bad idea. Why didn't he use the power that he has to stop it from coming to the floor? We found out, though, his power might be limited. Other than sending it to a committee where he knew it might die, he didn't have very many options to block this. We do have questions for one of the most powerful men in Colorado politics, and we hope that at some point he can spare a minute. There has been a bunch of misinformation and false claims about contentious bills at the state legislature this year. Now, some of that you've seen has come from citizens testifying before lawmakers. And let's set that aside, because it seems like a lot of those citizens, they were deceived by interest groups who just wanted to gin up outrage. I think, though, that it's a separate, more serious issue when you've got elected officials who are the ones saying things that aren't true. That stuff should be called out clearly. Good thing we have a TV show for that. So Republicans, hang on. Your example's coming. Let's begin with Democratic State Senator Carrie Donovan from Vail. She falsely claimed during a red flag debate on Friday that the Chaffee County Sheriff did not oppose that gun control bill. Let's listen.
Considering Chaffee is my district, I've also talked to all those commissioners and the sheriff. They are not opposed to the bill.
That is not true. Senator Donovan was called out for it. She apologized for the misrepresentation. And then Chaffee County Sheriff John Speasy called her out in person Saturday at a town hall in Salida. It was a moment caught on camera by gun rights activists.
So on the floor yesterday, you said that you had spoken to me in regards to this bill, and I support the bill. Yep. I don't support the bill, and you and I have never had a conversation. So I would like that clarified.
To ground rules. That said, no comment.
Donovan said that she was unaware of the sheriff's opposition. It came in a statement in a newspaper editorial. So next, we will turn to a false claim that was made by a Republican Weld County Commissioner, Barbara Kirkmeyer, who told the legislature that a big oil and gas project had pulled out of her county because Democrats plan to pass sweeping oil and gas regulations. Here, Kirkmeyer is speaking to the House Finance Committee Monday.
And if you don't believe us, we had our first casualty today. In our land use hearings today, we had an applicant withdraw an application for about a $350 million compressor plant. And the reason they withdrawed is because of the regulatory uncertainty of Senate Bill 181.
That is not true. The energy company, DCP Midstream, tells us that it has no intention to reduce its significant investments in Weld County. It appears that misinformation started with a company representative who was talking to Weld County commissioners in a separate meeting. But you know, once something reinforces a narrative, it gets grabbed a hold of, and all of a sudden you get this false claim that Weld County is losing a big gas and oil project. Busy week in the business of political misinformation. You will soon be hearing a renewed debate over the concept of so-called no-kill animal shelters. A lot of animal welfare activists hate that term no-kill, saying that they will only use euthanasia when a pet is beyond medical treatment or if an animal's vicious behavior isn't likely to change. First of this year, City Council down in Pueblo passed a no-kill ordinance. They mandated that all shelters keep up their numbers of live releases past 90%. They hired a new group to take over the municipal animal shelter. Then just today, that new manager gave up the license and turned the shelter over to the state amidst massive violations. Our Steve Steger found some local shelters saying that the problem was all about that new law.
The animal welfare community in Colorado is trying to respond to help get those animals the care that they need.
The Denver Dumb Friends League already has 30 new dogs and cats in their care, animals that came from the troubled municipal shelter in Pueblo. Today, that shelter shut its doors.
We estimate about 150 animals still there that are going to need to be moved out to other shelters and get the care that they need.
A new shelter manager in Pueblo took over after the first of the year. The same day, a new Pueblo law kicked in. It's a version of the no-kill movement, requiring all shelters in Pueblo to limit the amount of animals euthanized in their care. The new shelter manager vowed to take it on, yet in 3 months, state inspectors found enough horrible conditions there that the shelter manager surrendered its license today.
It's an extreme version of a no-kill movement.
Dr. April Steele with Denver Dumb Friends League blames the shelter's problems in part on the new law in Pueblo.
The danger is that you manage to a number and you don't look at the individual needs of the animal. The truth is this is preying, is a predatory behavior on people who care deeply about animals. They mean well, they want to do right by animals, they want to make a difference in this world, and they're being convinced that this is the way to do it. And this is a perfect example that this is not the way to do it.
David Smith, the man behind No Kill Colorado, disagrees.
It wasn't a numbers game. It was simply that they were doing a poor job of management of the shelter.
He says the law is working without problems in other cities across the country.
It can't be impossible if it exists. It's out there. And Pueblo failing is a simple indication of shelter leadership. This is a management, a leadership issue, and there's absolutely no other issue that needs to be addressed.
So I chatted with the councilman behind the new law today. He agrees with David Smith that this was just bad management and that no part of this had to do with the no-kill movement. In the meantime, DDFL, Denver Dumb Friends League, is offering discounted adoption rates through next week to try to clear some space for the new animals they expect to take on from Pueblo. And the Pueblo City Council and the county are both actively trying to look for a new shelter manager, Kyle. So this really kind of sparks that debate of what's the best way to care for animals who are at that end of life.
Sure, and it comes down to these terms that a lot of people think mean one thing, but they obviously mean different things to different people, like no-kill, like we saw there in Pueblo.
When you sit down with the two sides, it's very interesting because you hear them say the same things, but it's almost that word no-kill that gets stuck in the middle and creates this debate.
Well, what a mess in Pueblo. All right, thank you, Steve. For a moment today, both right-wing talk radio in Colorado and the Democratic House Speaker Casey Becker had something in common. They were both constantly pushing erectile dysfunction treatments. For talk radio, of course, those are the advertisers. And for Speaker Becker, it was her website that was hacked. It was diverted to sell Viagra. Becker tweeted about it, acknowledging it's pretty funny. And her message to the hacker, quote, "Our endurance in fighting the good fight as Democrats is well documented, but thanks for the suggestion." Well, soon after this, they decided, well, we're not going to give her jokes. So they rerouted visitors to her website to GoDaddy. Website page looked like this for most of the day. Maybe it just reverted back to a hosting page. Not sure. Anyway, Becker's office says they still don't know who did this. Some tough to miss bright turquoise cargoes making its way through the Denver metro area. A whole bunch of you, Jay, Terry, Krista, Shelley, spotted these in the area of Santa Fe and Hamden this week moving by rail. A BNSF spokesperson said, you know, outside of those wind turbine blades, typically we do not see the long rail cars carrying big products to the metro area. However, because of flooding in Nebraska and South Dakota, tracks there are underwater, so trains are being rerouted here, including those airplane fuselages. They'd only say they're being transported for a customer. Wouldn't give us any more details than that. Adams City High School graduates painted a gift. Then the school accidentally painted over it. Now the students are back to make it whole again. Our Eagle friend near Littleton has a new man. No, not her new man. It's an even newer man. Hey girl. Nest returns in a moment. The bald eagle near Littleton, who lost her lifelong mate during the blizzard, appears to be done with the younger man who shared her nest just a week later, and it looks like she's flocking around with a new guy who's more her age. So we told you how bird watchers weren't sure if the newly appeared juvenile male was a young suitor or was her son returning to see mom. Well, now it appears he's been replaced by an older male bald eagle. Winston Herbert's the wildlife photographer who was watching the original pair for years, and he's been keeping us updated on as the nest turns. Winston saw this new pairing today. He says he saw them yesterday as well. Watched the female reject the new older guy, but then today she appeared to be more affectionate. Maybe things are coming together. CPW says the Denver water crews are down there in that area trying to keep an eye on the nest as well, and they also saw 2 adults in the nest yesterday. Juveniles have been out there as well, so they're thinking, you know what? Probably are her kids. Last night here, Steve Steger and I agreed to a truce in our very contentious 24-hour dispute on whether the term is legal eagle or legal beagle. It's clearly legal eagle, but I had to agree to the truce because, well, I wasn't sure if I could win. And then today, an Adams County District Court judge ruled in my favor. Turns out the Honorable Patrick T. Murphy, Chief Judge of the 17th Judicial District, watches next with his wife, Jill. Speaks well of your judgment, Your Honor. He sent us a note along with this order. Quote, the court finds and orders that any smart and well-prepared attorney who makes an appearance in cases that I preside over will be referred to as a legal eagle. Despite Judge Murphy's unambiguous order, I am told that Steve Steger plans to appeal. I wish him and that dog lawyer of his good luck.
In spite of the late day cloud cover, the warmest day of the week today, 73 degrees in Denver, way above the average of 57. And that trend will be coming to an end tomorrow. We see the high cloud deck ahead of a California storm that will come toward Colorado as 2 pieces of energy. The first little piece of energy will come through tomorrow as this ridge of high pressure begins to kind of flatten out. A little area of low pressure in the central plain states may bring a brief rain shower late in the day, but tomorrow does appear relatively dry. The second stronger system comes in Thursday night into Friday, and that's when we might see that rain-snow mix and maybe a half an inch of rainy, kind of snowy slush there on the grass by Saturday morning. Tonight is dry and breezy and 42. Partly sunny, 66 on Thursday with a late-day rain shower. Rain and snow showers likely late Friday with cooler highs heading into the weekend. Clearing on Sunday and then temperatures near 60 for the start of the new month. And up in the high country, record snowfall as we know, 88 inches of snow at Copper Mountain, Kyle.
Kathy, thanks. The 2017 graduating class at Adams City High left the school a gift, as graduating classes often do. Theirs was a mural. So you can imagine how they felt when it got painted over. It was restored today, and our Sonia Gutierrez got to witness the finishing touches.
All right, class of 2017.
When students in Adams City High School were coming up with this mural,
Eagles inspire, we soar, we fly higher.
They looked within.
So that was their senior quote.
It's crazy because this school has been my home for 4 years in high school. And I remember walking by this every day and seeing it blank.
They thought about what they needed to hear when they were walking these halls.
And me, my senior year, I went through a lot. My mom got hospitalized. My sister got murdered my senior year. And for me, soaring higher and thinking about, man, like, what can I do? I'm at a 1.5 GPA. I shot for a 4.0. I ended up graduating with a 2.5, got accepted into Metro, and actually became a first-generation student. And I have 2 little siblings that I'm trying to make that path for.
For them, and for every other student who walks these halls now.
And soaring higher is just a way of saying, you know what, we need to keep chasing our dreams, and we can't give up no matter what.
That message really resonated with students.
You know, I don't think you really realize what you have until it's gone.
When it was painted over.
You know, what happened to the mural, it's going to stick with it forever.
School principals said it was a work order gone wrong, but a month and a half later, they made it right.
They did. Yep.
This mural could have been painted over and no one could have said anything.
But instead, they raised their voices, and just like the mural says, flew higher.
And now I think it's even more empowering because we look back at it now and we think about that moment that we earned it back, that we fought for it back, and that we didn't let them take something as beautiful and as powerful like this away from us.
For Next,
It's looking better than ever.
I'm Sonia Gutierrez.
While Sonia was interviewing Kevin for the story today, he found out that he was receiving the Adams 14 Scholarship. It's $15,000 to cover his first year of college. So congratulations, Kevin. When the Denver Zoo's polar bears split up, neither one kept the house. That's going to the Bears. Finally, a story about something other than birds next. When the Denver Zoo's polar bears were split up and sent out of state because they couldn't successfully mate, it opened up their exhibit for the grizzly bears. Think Extreme Home Makeover Zoo Edition. Our Brian Wendland gives us an update.
Grizzly bears and polar bears are different beasts. We all know that. So in November, the Denver Zoo had its work cut out for it when they started transforming the polar bear enclosure into a new grizzly habitat.
I'm basically standing on what used to be the edge of a pool here.
Polar bears love swimming. Grizzlies, not so much.
They're not big swimmers. They don't like to go on big swims.
Less water means more room for dirt. And Senior Vice President for Animal Sciences, Brian Acone, says grizzlies love dirt.
There's a lot more of the natural substrate that they can dig in, which they'll enjoy.
This new space is way bigger than where the bears live now. There'll be more room for them to behave naturally.
A lot more climbing areas for them to get up and onto things and do a lot more natural behaviors than they currently have.
There'll be new stuff for people to enjoy as well.
One of the biggest things is going to be a lot of the theming, so there's really some strong messaging here about living with wildlife and living with bears.
Acone says they hope to have this space open in May, but moving the bears in won't be easy.
It takes some good muscle. And then a stout transport container.
Veterinarians will put the bears under, and they'll be transported in specially designed shipping containers. Once they wake up, Acone says it won't take long for the grizzlies to feel at home.
I think they're going to be very excited. You know, it's a good adventure, and grizzlies are adventurous, so I think they're going to really enjoy this new space and really enjoy checking it all out.
For Next, I'm Brian Wendland.
So checking in on our former bears, this is a live look at the polar bear camp at the Alaska Zoo. That's where we sent the female Cranberry. I don't see her. I don't think she's in there. Hey, she's been introduced to her new mate, Liu, though. So remember, there was a chance, we told you this, that when she left Denver, that she was actually pregnant after all those years of unsuccessful attempts here. But we've passed the season in which she would typically have the baby, so they don't think she's pregnant. Hey, look at that, it's a bear, everybody. So, you know, polar bear pregnancies are notoriously difficult to find out, like to test for. It's crazy, crazy stuff. Like even the experts can't do it. So that's the reason why they said, well, we don't think she's pregnant, but we're not sure. We saw them together earlier today, so it appears like things are going well for them. Look at that. That's Randy stuff. We probably should not put that on TV. We will have your feedback, Randy and otherwise, next. The McIlvains rightly note tonight that we reported on a plane on a train as opposed to a train to a plane. Jeff thinks that those are Boeing 737 MAX fuselages manufactured in Wichita being shipped to Boeing in Seattle. We'll see if we can confirm that. And CH says, I will not continue to listen to you until you change your propaganda. Well, then how are you going to know when I change my propaganda? That doesn't even make sense, man. See you next time.